here's Brody Brazil.
Well, if I'm being completely honest, nothing really surprises me in this process anymore, because here I am once again making another video I never actually thought I'd be making. Reportedly on Thursday, representatives from the A's will get together with members of Oakland and the county of Alameda to have a conversation or a discussion or potentially even a negotiation about a potential lease extension for the A's and the Oakland Coliseum. This all comes to us courtesy of the San Francisco Chronicle and, as usual, great reporting by John Shea. Here are the main points. The meeting is to take place on Thursday. It's going to involve Oakland's Chief of Staff, Leigh Hanson, Vice Mayor Rebecca Kaplan, Alameda County Supervisor David Haubert, and A's President Dave Kaval. As you're aware, the A's lease at the Coliseum expires following the conclusion of this upcoming 2024 season, and the current rent is $1.2 million per season for the A's to use the facility. All right, so that's the surface level stuff. Here are some additional details which obviously give some deeper perspective. The A's recently, officially and well documented, they visited Sacramento and they visited Salt Lake City to tour the minor league ballpark in Sacramento and to tour a construction site in Salt Lake City where a brand new 7,500-seat venue is being put up for the AAA Salt Lake Bees. Reno and Summerlin, those two Nevada cities, have seemingly been essentially ruled out of contention for the A's in their temporary years of what they think is going to be 2025, 2026, and 2027. All of that would be considering that a Las Vegas ballpark actually gets built in time for the 2028 season. Now, on that note, last week, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, he kind of applied some timelines to opening up in 2028 and also to the interim years. I say timelines, but some perceived it as even pressure. I think he said he was going to be disappointed if the new ballpark in Las Vegas wasn't opened by 2028, and also that the interim years for the A's, 25 through 27, they would have to be figured out in the next few months. In fact, he gave the indication that the A's would be playing somewhere in the West instead of any one of those specific cities. But obviously, it's been narrowed down to Sacramento, Salt Lake City. We haven't heard much from the San Francisco option at all. That was talked about quite a bit in recent months, but that's kind of faded away from the forefront. And then last week, this according also to the San Francisco Chronicle, the JPA, the Joint Powers Authority that runs management of the Coliseum and the arena and the entire complex, they said there had been no talks regarding any potential A's lease extension, like things had never actually even moved forward at all. They had no communication with the A's. So interesting to take note of the sequence of events here and what has led us to this. Something kind of unexpected that the A's would actually start turning their attention back to Oakland. In reality, this is the first time they've wanted to conduct any official business with Oakland since April 19th of 2023, when they officially said they'd be turning away from Oakland and putting all their focus and emphasis on relocating to Las Vegas. Okay, here are the takeaways now that you know the basics, some details, and now let's go even deeper here. It's also interesting because a couple days ago, the Chronicle reported that the Oakland Roots and Soul, the two professional soccer teams for the men and women's side, they were considering trying to lease out the Coliseum for their own purposes. And rightfully so, if it was going to be an empty venue and the A's had no contact, and it appeared that the A's, for all intents and purposes, wanted no part of the conversation of extending their lease at the Coliseum, why wouldn't you make a pitch to try and get in when you could if you were one of those two soccer teams? So that's also some interesting, maybe pressure put on the A's side of things that they wanted to secure their spot, at least for next season. There's also a simple thought that, hey, a meeting is just a meeting. It doesn't hurt anybody. And this could be part of MLB's due diligence to just explore the options here. Meet with Oakland, meet with Alameda County, meet with the JPA, just to say that you did it. You covered all your bases. If you largely just ignored this and never even explored it, and there are some obviously rewards to the A's for staying in the Bay Area and staying at the Coliseum, even if these are just interim years, maybe this was part of a request by Major League Baseball to say, hey, take care of this, at least try it out, and see if the shoe fits. So due diligence is definitely a possibility in all of this. Maybe no expectations from the A's side. Certainly now we'll get to the Oakland side of things. But as for the A's, you'd have to think that if they're really considering this and they're really trying to make this a viable option to stay at the Coliseum, in an optimal world for them, this wouldn't be happening. A temporary location for interim years, it at least kind of starts building the bridge to Las Vegas. At that point, you've committed to your move. You're probably not going to move to a temporary location only to ever move back to Oakland. So quite honestly, a temporary spot and the A's moving there really would feel like the unofficial official end to baseball in Oakland, no matter what. I mean, yes, it would, but it would also kind of indicate even more than just moving away, but also that they'd be done in Oakland for good. Oakland, though, let's talk about that side of it. They're going to want the world in return here for even considering this. And that's why I'm curious, obviously from the outside looking in, of what is even possible here in a negotiation. Oakland's going to want either top dollar. I mean, you take that $1.2 million and times it by 10 or 15, and that's probably an asking price for the city of Oakland, the county of Alameda, and the JPA to use the facility for a short-term, temporary thing to help bridge them out of Oakland. You'd think they'd want a top dollar amount. Or, and I don't know the logistics of this, the reality of this, the viability of this, but Oakland might want to keep the naming rights, the colors, the logo, the identity of the A's. I don't even know if that's entirely a possibility for Major League Baseball to turn that over. Or the other thing would be the promise of expansion if the A's are actually going to go through relocation. And as the process goes, if you're Oakland, considering that there are a couple viable sites and there might be some viable ownership groups, maybe that could be presented to Major League Baseball as part of a request. They'll let the A's stay. They'll request an expansion team with some given sites and ownership groups, and maybe that's just even more enticing to Major League Baseball than it ever was before. However, let's be clear, baseball has already said that's not exactly going to be one of their talking points yet, and it can't be until they get this situation figured out. Also, everybody's assuming here that this would be a lease extension of multiple years. That's what the A's need. I mean, it certainly would be the easiest thing to do, right? To secure 25, 26, 27, maybe even have an option for 2028. But maybe this is just a thing to secure 2025 and that's it. Now, that's only kind of kicking the can down the road. You'd have to think that the responsible thing for the A's to do here is find one location, no matter where it is, if it truly is going to be an interim city thing, to pick that one place and to not have to make multiple moves. I guess by staying in Oakland for 2025, it would be 0 moves as opposed to maybe 1 if they had to leave after that. But my point is, you'd have to imagine Major League Baseball wants the A's to lock in their temporary home, stay there, and only be there until Las Vegas would be a reality. So in conclusion, I don't want to get anybody or everybody's hopes up. What does this mean? Certainly, it's a bridge, it's a connection, it's a meeting that I don't think anybody ever thought was going to take place. It was pretty clear to me, at least the image was from the A's side of things, that they wanted no part in this negotiation. They had not moved the process forward at all. Maybe they didn't want to lead anybody on, too. That's also fair to say. But now we're here with members of Oakland and representatives of the A's getting back together for a discussion on potentially using the Coliseum after 2024. Again, it's something that even a week or two ago, I would have never told you I could have seen this coming. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.